Welcome back, everyone. Let's go ahead and do a quick little comparison. Actually, this is going to be a pretty full one compared against the OnePlus 9 and the iPhone 12. Now, first of all, if you have all the money in the world, why are you even getting either one of these? You should be getting the OnePlus 9 Pro or the iPhone 12 Pro Max. But both of these things are roughly around the same price. I think the iPhone 12 is still a little bit more expensive, but if you want to pick up either one of these, both of these will be linked down below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can see that the OnePlus 9 is still the bigger phone in pretty much every single dimension. It's wider, it's longer, and I think it's a little bit thicker as well. It's kind of like a mixed bag. The iPhone 12 on the front has that 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. It's a very good panel. Really, anything I've ever done with it, it was a solid phone. The panel is great, the viewing angles are good, and it's a very predictable display. But the OnePlus 9, on the other hand, has that bigger, larger 6.55-inch panel, and it has that 120 hertz refresh rate, which I think is one of my favorite things about this phone for sure. It's a large panel, so the PPI isn't crazy high, but it's a very good panel, and you have that hole punch display. The iPhone 12 still has that notch. Some people may not care, but it is one of those things that I do have to note. I would probably say though the OnePlus 9 definitely has the better panel because of that 120 hertz for sure. USB Type-C port on the bottom, the OnePlus 9, Lightning port on the iPhone 12. Thickness and thickness, as I mentioned before, I think the OnePlus 9 is thicker, but I don't know, they both kind of feel like the same thing to be honest. And on the back, glass backs on both, triple camera setup on the OnePlus 9 kind of, but the iPhone 12 has that dual camera setup. But I will be honest, both these cameras kind of function the same in terms of the hardware themselves. Wireless charging on both as well, and both feel roughly around the same. Like they both feel equal in terms of like the hardware of them on the outside. So one doesn't really feel way more premium than the other one, so keep that in mind. So in terms of the outside, that covers it. But one of the bigger differences is always Android versus iOS. Which one do you want? I'll be honest, if you like iPhones, then get the iPhone 12. If you like Androids, get the OnePlus 9. But I've always been the type of person to say that Oxygen OS is my favorite version of Android by far. It's just stock. It has so many features built in, and it almost is kind of like a no-brainer for the amount of capability that this phone has in terms of the software. It's amazing. And I mentioned this before, this is my favorite version of Android. I like this more than I like, stock Android even. There's a lot of features built in here. The iPhones, though, they've always been stock. There's just so much capability in terms of this. So you're going to be getting a very good stock software experience. There's not any bloatware, for the most part. I've never even seen an iPhone with bloatware. So you're going to be perfectly set for your iPhone. So both of these are very similar in that standpoint, which is very, very interesting. So in terms of software, they're pretty much the same. But in terms of hardware, and the battery life specifically, this is where things get a little interesting. So for the OnePlus, I feel like this battery is better than the iPhone. Really from any iPhone, I think even the OnePlus 9 has better battery life than the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And that's not really saying much because the 12 Pro Max has worse battery life than the 11 Pro Max. But I feel like with the iPhone 12's battery life, it's good. I feel like it wasn't as good as my iPhone 11 or my 11 Pro, and that's kind of where the downsides are. The OnePlus 9, I feel like, from what I've tested, it had better battery life than my OnePlus 8, which is a good improvement. And this battery life is extremely good. You're getting a 4,500 mAh battery on the OnePlus 9. The iPhone 12 has around a 2,800 mAh battery. So in terms of that, sizes doesn't mean everything in terms of battery, but again, you're going to be getting a better battery life on the OnePlus 9 than the iPhone 12 from my experience. So in terms of that, that pretty much covers it up. Now let's go into a little bit of a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 12 has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the OnePlus 9 has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 chipset inside of it with 2 different models, 8 and 12 gigs of RAM. This one has 8 gigs of RAM, so let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. All the apps are cleared out in the background. iPhone 12 is cleared out. OnePlus 9 is also cleared out. So let's get into it. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And about the same. I couldn't really tell that big of a difference. Animation speed seemed to be about the same too. Let's go to their designated app stores, 3, 2, 1. And you can see the OnePlus 9 actually was pretty fast. The iPhone 12 was a little bit behind. Scrolling speeds, you can kind of see that. I kind of think that they both are pretty smooth. I don't know if there was one that was necessarily smoother than the other one. And again, with the animations, you can kind of see the same thing going on happening out of there. Let's go and get into their cameras. 3, 2, 1. And I'm not really too sure. I think maybe the iPhone 12 was probably faster here. With a lot of these apps, it's kind of hard to tell, to be honest. Let's get into some of these third-party apps right here. Let's do BOFA, 3, 2, 1. And I think, yeah, obviously the OnePlus 9 was faster to get into that panel. Hopping out of this one, let's go and do Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And look at that OnePlus 9, dude. This OnePlus 9 is a very fast phone. The iPhone 12 I use on an everyday basis, but this OnePlus 9 is a very fast phone for sure. And with these heavier intensive games, I feel like it's going to overall do better. The iPhone 12, a little bit behind for sure. Getting into some gameplay, as I always mention, I really don't think there's going to be that crazy of a difference like once you're in the game, but you would be shocked by how fast some of these phones are to one another. In terms of this, they're probably going to be around the same, to be honest. Hopping out of this game, let's go and do something like Snake versus Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And OnePlus 9 again was the faster one there. Getting into some gameplay. Let's see if anything crazy happens. And I feel like they're going to be roughly around the same here too. And yeah, like once you're in the game, there's not a big difference. But the OnePlus 9 obviously was the faster one. Let's do Dropbox, 3, 2, 1. And the OnePlus 9 again, I think was the faster one. Quizlet, 3, 2, 1. OnePlus 9 again, slightly faster. Very, very subtle differences. Let's go ahead and do Thank You, 3, 2, 1. OnePlus 9 again is the faster one. iPhone 12 a bit behind. Getting into some gameplay here. You can kind of see again, the kind of roughly around the same thing in terms of gameplay. Let's do Stack, 3, which I don't even have here, I don't think. Let's do Netflix, 3, 2, 1. Again, OnePlus 9 is faster. iPhone 12 a little bit behind. Snake versus Blocks, I think I've already done. And Paper IO 2, Fruit Ninja, 3, 2, 1. And I think possibly the OnePlus 9, as you can see, was the faster one here. The iPhone 12 just a little bit behind. Gameplay-wise, these games are probably going to run roughly around the same. As I mentioned, this is a pretty basic game. I'm wondering why it's loading here. I don't know why this screen is loading and this one is able to play. That's very, very weird to me. And I think, honestly, this is a pretty quick one, but I think I've already made my opinion. It's quite obvious to see that the OnePlus 9 is probably the faster phone, and you can see RAM management is also a bit better on the OnePlus 9 as well. If you're trying to load up a bunch of these apps in the background, you can see that the iPhone 12, it does have half the amount of RAM. iOS does a lot better at RAM management from what I've seen compared to some Androids. But you can see that some apps were already restarting on the iPhone 12. The OnePlus 9 was able to keep those specific apps in the background, including this app. So I think overall the OnePlus 9 has done a better job at the speed comparison. But I still think the iPhone 12 is a very good performing phone too. So in terms of that, that pretty much covers it up. Let's do a quick little camera comparison. Now, as mentioned before, they both have, I guess, dual camera setups. The OnePlus 8 does have that additional depth lens, wide-angle lenses, and ultra-wide sensors on both. Now, one thing I was thinking about when I was using my OnePlus 9, recently about the camera comparison or whatever, I saw just how weird of an issue there is on the OnePlus 9. The iPhone 12's camera, first of all, it may not have like 8K capability that the OnePlus 9 has, but the iPhone 12's camera is extremely good for the front and the back, and it's very predictable. One thing, as you can see, look how fast that zooming in and out capability is. It's like almost instantaneous. With a lot of Android phones, they don't have that instantaneous like zooming in and out. And I'll demonstrate that in a second on the iPhone 12. But the iPhone 12 also has 4K 60 capability on the front camera. The OnePlus 9, as far as I can tell, only has 1080p at 30 on the front, but it does have 8K capability on the back. So it's a little kind of like a flip-flop. You choose what you want. But I think the iPhone 12's camera is overall better. The camera systems are roughly around the same. You just have an additional depth lens here. But the iPhone 12's camera is extremely good from everything that I've tested. Now, I think with the OnePlus 9 camera, I think, like I mentioned, it's good enough for the most part. It's a good camera. They spent a lot of money on it, so it better be good. But from what I've seen, I don't really like, the UI. First of all, as you can see, just look how glitchy it is. Why is it that glitchy? It should not be that glitchy, as you guys can see. Even on the view, just from the viewfinder, it looks bad, but even in real life, it looks bad. So if I go ahead and zoom in, you can see how choppy this camera looks. It should not be this choppy, especially for a brand new phone. I already demonstrated how it is on the iPhones, but you can see on this device it's fairly glitchy. On the front camera, again, only 1080p at 30, very big letdown. 8K capability on the back though, and I'm not a huge fan of the UI. This UI doesn't look that great. I know it looks kind of like iPhones. I'm kind of used to it on the iPhones, but camera UIs like the stock Android one or even like the One UI camera are great. This one, it has a great camera, but I think Samsung is still killing it on the Android space. So I'll probably tell you the iPhone 12's camera is overall better, but the OnePlus 9 having the 8K capability, I'm pretty happy about it in my opinion. So to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you go and buy a OnePlus 9 or should you go and buy an iPhone 12? Well, this is pretty much what I'll tell you. I think if I had to choose one of these, I would probably end up choosing an iPhone 12. I feel like this phone is a more complete phone, even though the OnePlus 9 has crazy amounts of features. This phone just seems like the better one in my opinion. But it's not perfect. There are a lot of areas where the OnePlus 9 is the better phone. First of all, I feel like the size of the phone feels fairly good in the hand. The OnePlus 9 isn't even that crazy amount bigger, to be honest. The display isn't as good as the OnePlus 9's, but the cameras I feel like are just a little bit better. 4K at 60 on the front, 4K at 60, really good camera UI. I like this type of camera. I like iOS. I like this one more. To be honest, I like the features of Oxygen OS. There's crazy amounts of features here, but the iPhone I think just kills it there. Performance was better on the OnePlus 9, but I feel like the fluidity was smoother on the iPhone 12, and I just like certain aspects of this phone. But I will tell you, I still feel like the OnePlus 9, as I mentioned with the OnePlus 8 last year, this is a flagship. This is a more complete flagship than the iPhone 12. This thing has that 120 hertz capability on this, screen. This is a very good screen. I mean, this is probably better than the iPhone 12s. And I think when I think of a flagship, I don't think of the iPhone 12. The iPhone 12 doesn't have flagship capability. The OnePlus 9 is more of a flagship phone. You're getting that beautiful display. You're getting, very big battery, 120 hertz refresh rate, hole punch display versus the notch that we've had since 2017. Performance is better on the OnePlus 9. As you guys saw, not only was the speed app opening and everything better on the OnePlus 9, but the performance in terms of the RAM management was better on the OnePlus 9 as well. So that's another pretty big advantage that we have. We also have 8K capability in terms of filming on the back. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of this specific, camera module or even the front, but just having that capability I think is really cool. And like I mentioned, the battery, the software, it's a complete package. There's just some quirks that I'm not really a huge fan of that I think Apple does better. The front cameras, no 4K at 60 here, but we have 4K at 60 here. That's a pretty big plus point. But take it as you will, but I think that pretty much covers up the whole entire phone and this specific comparison. As I mentioned, if you want to pick up either one of these, links will be down in the description, but that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly, everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.